Just excuse me if I dry up a bit because I'm not used to doing things like this.
No, it's all right. I appreciate you doing it. Gives us something just a bit different, I think. Bit of a different insight.
Yeah, because I'm sort of technical about what happened, and sort of listened to that other one that you sent me. I thought, oh God, he knows everything about every match, but I didn't.
No, it's all good. Yeah. You living in Hull?
In Hessel.
In Hessel,
Yeah.
okay, right.
Yeah.
And obviously, were you from the area before you started working for City?
Sorry.
Were you from the area before you started working for City?
Yeah, I've always lived in Hull before I lived in Hessel. And we actually lived across the road from there. And there's some big flats on the road nearby. And I used to live there when I was, leaving school and just starting work sort of thing. So, yeah, but I'll wait for your questions.
No, obviously, just like, I don't know how old you were at the time or anything, but like, what was kind of the lead up to you working at City?
Well, I always worked in travel. Well, I started working in travel. Now I was sent up to London to work there for a bit, but I didn't like it, so I came back. But there was no job in travel when I got back. So Dad looked in the newspaper. He said, "Oh, Hull City looking for a secretary and a receptionist. Why don't you go?" So I said, "Oh, heck yeah, all right." Because I used to go to see Hull City quite a lot when I was a kid, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'll go." So I went for the interview, had to do my shorthand and typing for them, and it was Chris Needler and John Needler that were there, because I think Harold was quite ill at the time. So they gave me the job, but I think they gave me the job because I was so cheap, because I was sort of more or less a school leaver and no experience as a secretary, but it didn't need it really. It was I just loved it. I loved the job. I think it's the best job I've ever had. The only thing that took me away from it was the money, really. They were a bit stingy.
Sounds about right,
yeah.
Oh yeah, taking it back a bit then, like you say you used to go watch City, like what are your first kind of memories of Boothby Park then?
The big one was when we played Chelsea. I think I was only about 14 then. And we lived, as I say, we lived over the road from there. So we used to go, me and my sister used to go a lot. And I remember that. I remember it was so packed. It'd never been so packed. And they wouldn't have got away with it now, would they? They just crammed every inch full of people. But it was a brilliant match. I mean, of course we lost, but it was good fun. It was fabulous. It was an atmosphere and a half.
Yeah. And then, I suppose like when you do start working for the club, like what was your day to day like? Was it like Monday to Saturday kind of thing?
It was it was. I used to get a day off in the week sometimes, but it was generally every other Saturday. Every time they were playing, I had to be there. But all I used to do really is first thing in the morning, I'd get into the office and open up. And the chap that I was actually working for was Hull City's secretary. Called him John, but I can't remember his surname now. It's a long time ago. So I worked for him, and I used to be on the switchboard, dealing all with the calls and everything that came through, and any mail that came through, and the wages for the players, which were quite extortionately low as well.
So what they'd have to, how did it work at the time? Would it all be like cash in envelopes, or was it all right?
Every week they got paid, and I used to have to pay for the ladies that had the young players in digs and everything. We used to have to pay for them as well. So it was a bit varied really. And then of course they had the old, do you remember they had the Spot the Ball?
Okay.
You remember that?
Yeah.
There was a couple of other people that worked on that. They did the sort of the promotions of Hull City and everything. They did Spot the Ball, but they always used to make me choose where the ball was going to be.
All right.
So So I wasn't allowed to take part, unfortunately, but never mind.
Fair. Then yeah, in terms of just the characters, like you mentioned a few names already, like who are the people that you remember from that time that you'd be working with?
Stan was one of my favourites, the groundsman. I used to go in and have a cup of tea with him in the morning, and so did all the players, unless they came to me and asked me to make them a cup of tea. But I soon changed that to them making me one when they came in. But he was lovely. He was just such a nice person, and he loved that ground so much. He was so proud of it, and he wouldn't let anybody practice on there at all. They all had to go to the gym or down to Cottingham to do the training and everything. But it was lovely. It was great. And if ever there was a bad weather day, he'd be out there as soon as the match was over, and people would, well, before people had left the stands, he was repairing the match, the pitch all the time. Brilliant. And his wife was lovely as well.
I was watching a thing, end of an era video recently about Buffery Park, and it's an interview with the woman who did the laundry around the time you were there.
Joyce.
Might have been, yeah.
Yeah, Molly and Joyce. I used to go in and see them every morning. I loved those two. They were so funny.
And she was saying it's basically like one big family. She described it as.
Yeah, it was. Everybody, the whole team, everybody. Nobody was better than anybody else. It was a family, and they really looked at, within the workforce, everybody was nice to everybody. Nobody thought they were better than anybody else. It was lovely.
And did you obviously have some? If you imagine if you're sorting the players' money out, you get a few funny interactions with them, did you?
Well, no, not really. I mean, it came to me from Needler's head office. They would send down what they were going to get paid, and I used to have to put it into envelopes for them and just pay them. So I didn't really have that much to it, but they did complain quite often about the amount they were getting.
And then, just in terms of a match day, then you say you'd be there. Were you able to watch the games as well?
Oh, yeah. I used to go in the director's box because before the match started, I used to have to go down to the director's box and put, they had like plastic numbers and letters, and I used to have to put the names of the teams up on this board, and half-time scores and full-time scores. So before I went in, I had to get all this ready. So, and then when the match was finished, I had to run in, put all the half-time scores up for them, and then at the end of the match, do the same thing again. But I loved it. It was nice. I used to have my blanket and sit there like the Queen, and it was brilliant. I loved it.
Nice. Yeah. Was it Terry Neal that was manager then?
Yeah, Terry was manager then, and just before I left, it became John Kay. He was the manager then. So okay. I used to make Terry take me. He had an E-type Jag, a big bright yellow one. I used to make him take me around the club, around the car park in this, and he even let me drive it once, but it was only once because I'd not passed my driving test and I couldn't drive at all. So, but it was nice. It was funny.
Excellent, yeah. Let's have a look at these questions I sent. Yes, I mean, we're doing fairly steady, I think, in the second division at that point. But what were the main challenges of your job? Did you say there was some financial issues at the time?
Yeah, we weren't doing very well at all. I mean, it wasn't, the seasons I were there, it wasn't good. They didn't win that many times. I remember one time they were playing, was it? I can't remember. I've made a note actually. It's when we played Fulham. I remember that because we actually won 4-1 and 4-0, and couldn't believe it. I mean, everybody was in such high spirits after that. And it lasted a little while. I think that did them good, and they won a few more after that. But then it just went. I think morale was a little bit low, really, because I don't think they got. I can understand it. The supporters were getting really fed up of it. I remember I used to have to when they had the AGM, you know, for the supporters club, it used to get a bit heated, and they were getting really fed up of us not winning and not spending any money. And then, of course, the last one that I did was in '74, and they weren't happy because we'd sold Stuart Pearson to Manchester United, and he was our only big star at the time, I think. You know, he was the one that was scoring the goals and everything. I think we paid about 200,000 for him when he went there, which was a lot of money then, I suppose.
Yeah, that is quite a big man, isn't it?
Yeah.
Were you there? I'm just trying to work out if that was during the time when we had the first ever penalty shootout at Boothby Park with Man United, or was that before?
Was that when we won 2-0?
Oh no, so that was in 1970. Ignore me, sorry.
I was still at school then.
Yeah, but was there any other, I suppose, like big matches at that time, or like you say, was it all a bit
No, it was
low key?
It was a bit low key, yeah, really was a bit low key. I had a look at a few programs that I had when I kept those. I think we were, do you know, honestly, sometimes during those years, I think we were better when we played away than we were at home.
Did you ever go away then?
I used to. I wasn't allowed to go in the coach, but if it was somewhere not too far, then I'd go and support them. It was, and I used to go with one of my friends. She loved going to see them as well, so we'd just get on the train and go wherever they were going, but not very often, because a lot of the time there were even reserve matches, you know, or junior matches. So I had to be there when they were playing as well.
Okay, right.
So not often, but I did enjoy the home matches, I must say. It was nice and warm up there.
Yeah. Did you get to go in like the director's lounge and everything?
Yeah.
The boardroom, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, that's the boardroom where I used to have to go and put all the results up.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah.
So that was purely for the directors and their guests, the scores and everything. Right.
Yeah, it was nice. But just trying to think about, there was one person that I really liked, and it was Will Rogerson. Do you remember him?
I've seen interviews with him, yeah.
Oh, he was so lovely. And even when I left and I had children, I used to go, and he used to let me in for free.
Yes.
Oh, what get him into trouble now, because bless him, he's not here anymore, is he? But yeah, he used to put us up in the West Stand, which was nice.
Yeah, I was watching an interview with him and another guy, I can't remember his name, but used to work at a ticket office. But they were saying City played like a European team, I think it was the 70s, and this European team said they weren't going to come up for the second half unless they were paid, I think, 15 grand in cash. So Wilf and this other guy had to go and within 15 minutes had to count it all out and get it from all the cash from the turnstiles and give it to him in the bag.
Good grief, blimey. Can you remember who it was?
Oh, what's his name? Oh, what, the team? Or
yeah, the team, yeah.
It was like this team. I think it was a Hungarian team that were doing a tour of English teams. I can't remember the name now.
Do you know, I think I saw it when I was looking at bits and pieces to try and remind me about things. Yeah, I think that there was a Hungarian team that we played. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's different times, isn't it?
I don't remember that. I don't remember them rooting around. Mind you, I might not have been there. I might have been over on the near the pitch, but I don't remember them doing that. Must have been a bit fraught, mustn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the Needler family then, like obviously like kind of before my time, but what were they like as people?
They were really nice to me. I couldn't complain about the way I was treated at all. They were always courteous and nice when they'd come in. If they wanted something to be done, they'd just ask nicely and it would be done. You know, I didn't have any issues with them at all, apart from the wages. But I was only young anyway, so you wouldn't feel as if you were in a place to sort of say, no, give me an increase. And I remember just before I left, they decided that they'd put the players' money up a little bit more, and it was a little bit more. And I was on £7 a week at the time, and they said they would give me £7.50 a week for the next year. And I thought, because I'd already been offered a job at North Sea Ferries as a shore hostess for £40 a week. So I thought, no, as much as I love it, I think I'm going to go for the money.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, my mum worked for North Sea Ferries at one point, but it was in the 80s, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's called Leslie Price at the time.
No, I didn't. Mind you, I was only there till about 78.
Okay, it might be a bit before.
Yeah. It was weird fun there. It was nice. That was a good place to work as well. But I still think the whole city was the best because I had so much fun. They were a bit naughty, actually, the players, because I was the only girl that worked there, apart from Terry Neal's secretary, that was an older lady. And I had to pass their dressing rooms every morning. Every time I went to the boardroom, you just went past there to get to the boardroom. They used to leave the door wide open, and they had a bath in those days, and they would all be in the bath. And Molly and Joyce went down one day and they said, "Will you keep that flipping door closed when Barbara's going by?" They really told them off.
Yeah,
I think it now.
No, exactly. Yeah, I think it was Molly who was saying the players used to take them out for weekends away and stuff like that. Maybe.
Remember that?
Or I'd take them for nights out. I don't know.
Oh, nights out we used to go on. Yeah, we all used to go on a good night out. Yeah, and us living nearby as well. My mum and dad were brilliant, and we used to have loads of parties, and the whole team would come every Saturday.
Really?
Flat, can you imagine? Whole team would come. Then when I worked at North Sea Ferries, we carried on having the parties. So all the girls wanted to come to the parties because the players were going to be there. We had to let all our neighbours know that we were having one because it was raucous. But no, we all would go out and meet in the town. And I remember when Roger de Vries was getting married, and he was having a stag night, and he came over and he said, "Are you going to come to my stag night?" I said, "I can't come to your stag night." He said, "Well, you're one of the lads, aren't you?" I said, "I don't think so." But anyway, I went, and it's a good job I did because I had to look after him because he was absolutely comatose.
Yes. Is that in the days where a stag was very close to the wedding as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't the night before. It was about 3 days before. So I remember he'll have had a bad hangover. To bundle him into a taxi and said, "This is where he's going. Take him."
Were there any other like standout players then that would be kind of the big characters on a night out or at a party?
Jeff Whelans was always up for a party, and Roy Greenwood, I remember him, they were always out for a party. Trying to think, there was a lot of quiet ones as well. The more established players there didn't bother so much because they all had families. Because I used to babysit for Ian McKechnie and Ken Wagstaff. He used to bring his little boy into the office for me to look after. Well, because his wife was working and he was at work as well, so I used to look after him as well. That was nice. Liked that.
Yes. Then just a couple to finish on. Then, like, you've obviously talked about a lot of high points and the fact it's probably your best ever job. But what can you think of, like, high point of working at Boothby Park, and is there anything maybe you do differently or anything?
I probably I should have asked for more money instead, because I really did. I did love it. But I think I was just too young and too scared to ask for more. and I did miss it, and I couldn't stop going in to see everybody after I left. And they were just family. I don't think that's the only other thing I would have done, because I never had a dark moment while I was there at all. It was just all lovely.
Did he carry on going to watch matches and everything?
Yeah. I did for a while. Again, it was a bit difficult because I was on sort of split shifts for North Sea Ferries. We used to have to get there at 6 o'clock in the morning and then get the people off the ferry. And then in the afternoon, we were back at 3 o'clock until about 7 o'clock. So there wasn't an awful lot of room to follow them too much. But when I could, I did.
Yeah. It must be pretty wild to see how well they've done, I guess, in recent times.
Oh yeah, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's nice. So I'm just trying to think if there was anybody else that I met. No, I think I've said everything with Stan and Molly and Joyce and everything, and the local bobbies that used to come in and get a cup of tea in the morning as well. The ones on the beach, we don't see them nowadays, do we?
True, yeah.
But they were welcomed in all the time. It was brilliant.
And like you mentioned, Ken Wagstaff, like obviously him and Chris Chilton must have been, the most senior players at that time.
Yeah.
Did they kind of have a good relationship with everyone?
Yeah, really good relationship, but they were very quiet.
Oh, right.
They were quiet. It's like Ian Butler, he was not quite so quiet, but it was, I don't know, he was a gentleman. And most of them were, apart from the cheeky ones, but most of them they were gentlemen. It's again, because I don't think they weren't big-headed. They didn't think that there was something they weren't.